Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now here in my hands, my SIG P365. This is the, it's really the XL or XLX macro. I've basically turned my XL into an X macro, but that's besides the point. Here, this is leveraging the Streamlight TLR-7A as my weapon light of choice. Now, at this point, I have tested a number of different Streamlight lights. I have also tested the TLR-7Sub. Both of these have been fantastic, but at this point, I've kind of standardized on the TLR-7A platform. And new for the 2024 model year season, while they've introduced the TLR-A into the TLR-X, which is basically their rechargeable version. The TLR-A using a standard CR123, the TLR-X now coming with a specialized rechargeable battery. So today what we're going to do, we're going to look at both of these in detail, taking a look at the TLR-7A and TLR-7X, and more specifically in comparison to the TLR-7Sub. So we're going to kind of see all three of these together in comparison, contrasting them, what's the same, what's different. But with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now, before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Streamlight who did provide this for review. And so as we get into this, if you had to ask the question, well, why have I at this point standardized on the TLR-7A? It's pretty simple and straightforward. Really only one reason, and that's because I have been rocking Alien Gear holsters, and the Alien Gear holsters are not compatible with the sub in this particular combination. So of course you have to get a shell or the actual kydex that fits both the handgun model with the light. And these Alien Gear holsters that I have been rocking lately are really only compatible for the X macro platform with the TLR-7A. So I have at this point ditched the sub. Now, that's not really entirely fair because I do have other holsters. For example, here, this is just a beautiful holster. I absolutely love it. It's a T-Rex Arms holster, wonderfully made, but unfortunately, it doesn't fit neither the X macro platform and, in combination with the TLR-7Sub. The TLR-7Sub would have worked, but this grip module doesn't fit. So while I'm rocking the X macro, grip module with a Streamlight, I do need to leverage the TLR-7A. That begs the question at this point, what are the similarities and what are the differences with the TLR-7A and the TLR-7Sub? The shape is just a little bit different. You obviously get a slightly more streamlined package out of the TLR-7Sub, but it's not that much. And in fact, the crazy thing is when you go through the specifications, both of these are anodized aluminum, so an aircraft grade anodized aluminum, both of them IPX7 rated. They both technically run off the CR123, 500 lumens, 5,000 candela, 140 meter beam distance, 1.5 hours of runtime. Both of them can accept the high and low paddles, and both of these have both the standard beam and the strobe. Now, both of them have the ability to disable the strobe. Here you can see this has to be enabled. There you go. So now that's enabled. So your strobe, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Holding that down. And it's now disabled. So very similar in terms of the overall functionality. And even in terms of the form factor, I'd say it's not really that much different to matter. But now at this point, we start to differentiate. We're going to get into the TLR-7X, which does give me the ability to charge my light. Now, there could be some pros, there could be some cons, but the reality is, at the end of the day, It's really the battery that makes this the rechargeable part. So as we remove this from the package, the first thing I'm going to say is I am digging this tan. I love the tan. I love the way the tan looks. I think it's totally awesome, and I love that about this light. It's going to be a nice addition to my SIG P365, call it X macro, and I do like that quite a bit. Now, as we take a look here, this is a universal fit that comes just factory with this light. So the little shoe on the inside, you do have the ability to change them out. Now, this does seem to come with the shoes that you're going to need. So there's a couple of different fits, 19, 13 rails of various different shapes and sizes, and the ability to space things out as you need. I believe I have kind of messed around with this just a little bit, which, yes, I have been running 1913-3. So that's going to be this adapter here. And let's just show you that fit real quick, which with the universal fit, you can see it does not fit. This actually bottoms out and will not fit. The distance here is not long enough. So that does need to be shortened down, which is why you end up using the 1913-3 key. Swapping out the key is very simple. Basically going to remove this screw here, the key coming out, the new key going in, putting this back and through, and reestablishing your jaw. At this point, this is ready to go. Now, the ridiculous thing is it's sold as the TLR-7X, but the only thing that I can tell that's actually differing here, I mean, it's not the light. It's not the light at all. It's the battery. The battery is what has that USB Type-C charging port. So as you take a look here, this is what you're going to charge. So in actual reality, you still need to unthread the front of the light to remove the battery, and then the battery is what you charge. So one thing that I don't like about weapon lights that are rechargeable, it's the fact that you actually theoretically need to leave your firearm on the table or the desk or wherever while you're charging it, unless you happen to have a charging port inside your safe, which I'd say most people probably do not. But the fact that you have to remove the battery, well, that kind of solves that. But then why is it not just a Streamlight TLR-7A and you buy a rechargeable battery? Why do we now go to the TLR-7X? It's kind of funny. So just a weird thing. I am going to make the point that I wonder if the electronics inside the TLR-7A are capable of running the battery. Threading this on, do I have the ability? Yes, it blinks. Yes, it runs. No problem. So why is it not just the battery that's the new product? It's just a little bit funny to me. But regardless, we will move on. You'll notice that the battery fits pretty snug, but it is even snugger when I try to put it in the TLR-7A. That barely wants to come out. So slightly different tolerances in there. But in terms of the functionality, again, with the TLR-7X, exactly the same. Threading on the head. The light now comes to life. This does have a lockout feature. So you do have the ability to lock the light out, which at this point fully locked out, or when you twist this, it makes contact and the light will come on. It comes from the factory by default without the strobe, so you do not have the strobe until you press the button 9 times and hold it down on the 10th. So here with it in the off position, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Long pressing. There we go. So again, 10 presses, 9 quick, hold it down on the 10th, and that enables the strobe. A quick double press does turn on that strobe. Single press, that's your 500 lumens. Double press, that's your strobe. You can lean on the button, and that's momentary. on both paddles, right and left. And if you double click and hold it down, that's momentary strobe, and you can let go and it turns off. So functionality wise, that works out very well. Remember that this does come outfit with the high paddles. You can install the low paddles, so that's pretty straightforward. There are plenty of instructions how to do that. I'm not going to do that today. With this now on the handgun, you can see just a nice match. I like the tan all the way around. That's pretty cool. And at this point, this thing is ready to go. I like the depth of how far back this sits. Everything nice and tight and just sits really, really well directly underneath the cutout and that sort of recess in the trigger guard, and gives me a nice deep, I would say, like adjustment and deep recess, yet the paddles do not extend too far into the trigger well. So at that point inside the guard, I do have really plenty of clearance there, but it bumps out just enough that I can get on it easily, but it doesn't interfere. So that's going to work out very well. Now the next thing I'm going to say is, if everything went perfectly according to plan, which I'm sure it did, I should have the ability now to leverage all the same holsters, which, clicking into place, nice and firm, no problem. That is perfectly secure, no worries there. And that does fit just fine. So again, perfect, nice retention, fitting right inside these holsters. So the TLR-7X is an interesting, I guess, marketing scheme to me, because it's not really a different light from the TLR-7A. It's really just a different battery, and it's the battery that's the rechargeable part of this system. And again, when you compare that against the TLR-7Sub, just an interesting thing going on here. What are the pros? What are the cons? All the benefits? Hard to say. The other thing that I will mention, and just a final thought when it comes down to the TLR-7A really versus the TLR-7Sub, the Sub a little more adjustable with the jaws. So that is one other thing that I think is worth noting, the fact that you can change the jaws on the TLR-7Sub between the 1913, the SIG proprietary rail, and the Glock rail. So that might be something worth considering, but in my opinion, hard to say if it's worth it. I think the TLR-7A or TLR-7X could certainly do it for you, but that might come down to your holster choice, your firearm, and what ends up being compatible. So whether or not you go with the standard CR123 or your rechargeable model, that is something worth considering. And so, all right, guys, there you have it. A quick look at the Streamlight TLR-7A versus TLR-7Sub versus TLR-7X, which, again, hard to say exactly what the pros and cons are. It just really depends on what you're going for. Do you want rechargeable? Do you want something that's going to be compatible with one firearm and, I would say, weapon-like combination for your holster? So I don't know. I don't have a ton to go with in terms of my advice to you. They're very similar. It's really a compatibility and sort of a mixing and matching thing that you need to consider. With the TLR-7X, you still need to remove the battery. That's going to be the rechargeable part. Maybe the color, the tan versus the black, is something to consider. Either way, it's the same body shape, it's the same beam, it's the same output, it's the same candela. Similar run times. In fact, you get less runtime. You get 1.5 hours of runtime with the standard CR123, more like 1 hour of runtime with the rechargeable battery. So that's another consideration. Does the runtime matter to you? It's just something worth considering. So, again, to the people at Streamlight, thank you so much for providing this full review. For the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor. Take a look at my Outer Limitless channel, which is more of my primary gear. On that channel, I cover everything from hiking, camping, and backpacking excursions, all the gear that goes with it. So from sleep systems, shelter systems, knives, axes, backpacks, flashlights, you name it, that's my Outer Limitless YouTube channel. So all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.